Fish-eating siphonophores have thick tentacles and long nematocysts to subdue muscular prey.
What is good, y'all? YD here, back with another video, and today we're gonna watch a video about siphonophores, the world's longest animal in the ocean. Let's get to it.
These are some of the largest superorganisms on Earth, but
These are
also
the most
some of them
sophisticated
we studied. They burn your skin and
creatures.
turn to goo if you try to grab them. It's a disappearing act that tells us something amazing about these deep-sea alien-looking creatures. They're not a single animal, but a chain of clones working together. How does that work? And what questions does it ask about what it even means to be an individual? This is the fascinating world of siphonophores.
Okay, siphonophores.
Hi, I'm Danielle
Animalogic.
Defoe, and you're watching Animalogic. Today, we're taking a deep look at one of the weirdest superorganisms on Earth, the siphonophores. From afar, some species look like gigantic, segmented deepwater jellyworms. From up close, they're a series of conjoined clones, all working together, but many with different jobs.
Clones.
Sounds confusing? It is. So let's start from the beginning. They're cnidarians, distantly related to jellyfish, which is why they have such a ghostly
Like all of them look
complexion.
different.
This massive
Like, there's
sea
none of them
monster
are the same.
lookalike is Apolemia uvaria, sometimes incorrectly called the stringed jellyfish, or more accurately, the long, stringy, stingy thingy. It's the largest siphonophore
thing look
ever
like its own
recorded
universe,
at over
its own
40
galaxy
meters, or
Like,
about
just
150 feet.
Stay out of that area.
It's longer than a blue whale, and if it was an animal, it would be the longest animal on Earth. But it isn't. This is a group of clones attached to each other. Individually, they look like this. They're called zooids,
Wait, what?
and they're about the size of a grain of rice. That means that a single siphonophore can have tens of thousands of individuals joined together to make a biological mecha predator.
Okay.
The most amazing thing about them is that they start as a single individual, and the way that they grow blurs the line between individual and organism.
Right.
Like you, me, and most other animals, siphonophores start as a fertilized egg that grows into a mature body. This is called the founding member of the colony.
Like a tree branch.
As it gets bigger, a stem grows. This is the infrastructure that will connect all of the clones. The stem has specific spots called growth areas. Here, clones of the founding members start to grow, but they no longer look like the original zooids. They will grow in different shapes depending on their job.
That'd be dope if it
Some
did have
will be
some type of
meant for swimming,
bioluminescence. I'm pretty sure
some
it does.
for catching prey and digesting it, some for sexual reproduction, and some for floating. You put together enough of these zooids and you get yourself a ginormous colony.
They're just making stuff. Like
You
you got a
might
whole
be
fish
wondering,
dragon behind it.
If they're attached to each other and they have the same DNA, why are they considered individual animals? Each of them has its own nervous, vascular, and digestive systems. If you separate them from each other, they'll survive for a bit, but not for long. It's an amazing
We need
feat
each other
of
to survive.
organization.
Okay.
The different types of zooids appear
we're
always
better
in the
together
same
than
order,
apart.
making it a truly harmonious structure. Older zooids
thing
will
looks
be at
crazy.
the back and younger
Like a
ones
fishing
at
net.
the front. They swim, hunt, and reproduce together without a brain to coordinate their actions. Each
Look like
zooid has a
jellyfish.
specific function, and it worries basically only about itself, but sharing nutrients and energy through the stem. This modular
So the
system
stem is the
allows them to
lifeline,
create
and they all
amazing
cling to that stem.
superorganisms, like the
And the
Apolemia we saw
stem brings
earlier.
down the food.
This was filmed in Western
nutrients.
Australia by
Okay.
an underwater drone called Sebastian. It was filmed at 630 meters deep, and it was organized in an eerie spiral, giving
Man,
me some Junji Ito vibes. Some smaller members of these species have been observed at depths of up to 1,000 meters.
they all look
And there's
different.
likely more species yet to be discovered at the depths of the ocean. The tentacles can be over 5 meters long, about
That
the
thing
same
looks
length as a
crazy, like
car,
all the
even
little.
though they look tiny in this video. Each of them is armed with microscopic needles full of venom.
You don't see no
If
fish
prey
around there.
touches it, it gets paralyzed and eaten. Yep, touching long, stringy, stingy thingies hurts a whole lot. But we'll get into the siphonophores you should worry about in a little bit. For now, let's keep looking at some of the most amazing species in the world, like Forxalia edwardsii. It doesn't have a common name, but can I suggest the boa scarf siphonophore? This
Boa
beautiful
scarf.
species is usually
I see
around
why.
1 to 3 meters
You
long.
look like a little
But
scarf.
this particular
little
superorganism was
Christmas
almost
ornaments that go
5
around the
meters
tree.
long. At the front, you can see a little balloon, followed by a series of inflatable chambers that suck in and expel water to give it jet propulsion. The rest of the body is full of feeding and reproductive zooids. This siphonophore is so huge that you can even get close and see all the small animals get caught in their feeding zooids in real time. It looks beautiful and harmonious.
So it is like a
But for
fishing
these
net.
little invertebrates, this is not a scarf, but a noose. The feeding zooids will dissolve them, absorb them, and send the nutrients to the other zooids throughout the stem. And how about a siphonophore with a stem so short, but with such a high density of zooids that it basically looks like a jellyfish pom-pom? This is a deep-sea dandelion, a strange siphonophore that feels more at
That
home
looks like they
sticking
do like
to
a
the bottom
dandelion.
of the ocean
That's dope.
rather than swimming around like most of its cousins. This one was seen at a depth of 2,500 meters, or about 5 CN towers deep. These mysterious
it
balls
connected
of
to?
zooids are very difficult to study, so we're not exactly sure what the little balls it seems to be shooting out are.
That's what I was
Regardless
like,
of
the
what
heck?
they are, it's amazing to see a creature living peacefully in an environment that
It
would
look
be
like little,
absolutely
like that's their little
unsurvivable
village.
to us. These
You know what I'm
are
saying?
just
The
some
little
of the
things, their little
hundreds of
town.
siphonophore
They
species.
just little white things,
There's
and
a
little
huge
vehicles, or
diversity
them
both in
swimming
looks
around and
and
chilling.
behaviors, as they have adapted
That'd be
to
dope.
life at different depths,
Little colony.
temperatures, and hunting different prey. Some of the coolest research we're seeing right now is how they evolve to catch different types of prey. As you can imagine, by the sheer amount of species, sizes, habitats, and shapes siphonophores have, they eat different kinds of prey and have adapted their hunting tools to be as deadly as possible to their main prey. These tools are on the sides of the feeding tentacles. They're called tentillas and are basically
Tentillas.
bags full of venomous needles. When an animal gets stuck in the sticky tentacles of the siphonophore, the tentacle moves it towards the tentilla, where it's injected with venom. Of course, it's hard for them to be
That'd be
selective
a
about what gets digested,
scary movie.
so they often eat their own tentacles along with
You
their
don't know what
prey.
shape they're gonna come
It's like
in.
if you were eating an
And
ice
like she
cream,
said, they
but the ice
evolved
cream was
to
glued to your hand,
better
so
hunt their
you
prey.
had to eat your hand too. It works
So
for
just
them
imagine.
because they have thousands of tentacles, but don't try that at home. Fish-eating siphonophores have thick tentacles and
They look
long
like a
nematocysts to subdue
jellyfish.
muscular prey. Those who eat crustaceans, like shrimp, have long tentacles that
crazy.
wrap around their prey to inject in the soft tissue at their joints. Siphonophores who eat tiny crustaceans have super sticky tentacles to catch fast-moving prey. And those that eat a little bit of everything have a combination of these features. So what is the siphonophore most likely to sting us? That is, of course, one that likes the same food as we do and lives close to us. It's also one of the prettiest creatures at the beach, the Portuguese manowar. They might look like glass sculptures with giant satin frills, something that would make
Yeah,
a
I've seen those
very
before.
pretty chandelier. In some cases,
really
these frills,
venomous?
which are really their feeding tentacles, can be 30 meters long, about as long as a blue whale. But all that
What?
long beauty is just living toxic fishing net. Portuguese
Long as a
manowar are
blue whale and it's
specialized
toxic.
in small fish, and
So
their
always touching
tentilla are designed to pierce flesh. Sometimes they float around together in groups of thousands of
they made
siphonophores,
to
and And
to
wherever
eat
there's warm water
us
and large
and
schools of
whales and
fish, you can be sure there's
pierce
manowar.
flesh is
As of
crazy.
the release of this episode, there are warnings in the UK and India because of the high number of these cute venomous creatures. It's a big enough concern that they're being called floating terrors in the news.
That
A
thing is
fleet of
creepy.
manowar can take out an entire school of fish. And if you happen to swim among their thousands of tentacles, you will be in immediate pain, possibly have a severe allergic reaction, and in some cases, even cardiac arrest. So please,
See, I
stay
told you it can
away
be a
from
scary
these
movie.
cute little bags of poison. Even when they're dead, they can still sting you. But if you do get stung, the best way to deal with it is hot water.
That's kind
No
of
need
got
for
a little
vinegar
sail,
or urine,
like a boat.
like it's sometimes advised by locals.
Now
They're just
that's
going to
crazy.
make
Why
you
are
stinky,
you walking through all of
but
that?
that won't help you dull the pain. The hot water breaks down some of the toxins and deactivates any venom needles that haven't deposited their venom. There's so
Got a little
much to
balloon that
learn
just
about
floats
these
on top of the
fantastic
water
creatures.
while the
So
tentacles
we asked
hang. It's kind of like
possibly the
a
number
bobber
one expert on
when you fishing,
siphonophores
and the
to
little
tell us
tentacles of the
how we're
hooks.
learning so much about them and the
And then
problems
just
with
let the
trying to
wind blow
study
it
a gooey
like a
deep
boat
water
sail.
invertebrate.
My name is Casey Dunn. I'm a professor in the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at Yale University. And I'm also the curator of invertebrate zoology at the Yale Peabody Museum. So when most people think of the ocean, they think of the coast and the waves. And there's siphonophores out there, but they get all chewed up and torn up in the waves, and then you don't see them, except maybe the Portuguese man of war, which is really amazing. It does wash
This
up
is
on
why
the
you
ocean.
can't swim in
Most
the ocean, bro.
siphonophores don't. So what this means is that
It's
you have
like
to get
little that
out
stuff
into
like
the
that to
open
get
ocean
you.
and then collect them. And there's a few ways to collect them. Even nets tend to damage them. So my favorite way to collect siphonophores is to go way offshore, 100 or more miles or something in a boat, and then jump over the side of the boat and then snorkel or scuba dive. Even though the ocean's very deep, we're not going to the bottom. We're just swimming around in that top layer of water with a bag of jars. And you just can develop techniques to get the animals to swim into the jars. And then you bring the siphonophores onto the boat. And then we have to get them back to the lab.
If you're not careful, they'll break apart, and your research is done. This
Dandelion.
fragility, combined with venom,
That
is
thing
one of
looks
the
like some
reasons
type
that
of
they
alien,
have
bro.
fascinated us
Alien
for years.
spine.
You might have even interacted with them without even knowing you were in the presence of an underwater alien.
For more than 100 years, we've been learning so much about the ocean by going out on these research ships, throwing nets over the side, pulling the nets through the water, and then bringing those nets back up to see what animals and plants and things that the algae are in them. And this has been so important. It's told us, so much about fish and crustaceans and things that are out there. But if you're on a ship and they bring up this net, the first thing that is done with that net when it lands on the deck of the ship is they get a hose and they spray off the net because it's slimy, right? Because it's been down deep. That slime is the siphonophores and the
whole
other
time.
animals. They're so fragile, they just kind of turn
Ocean
to goo.
slime
And
is so
the research is
siphonophore.
ongoing. As
It's
new
extremely
technologies are
fragile.
developed,
Can't touch
we're
'em.
not only getting more answers about
Thing is like a
siphonophores, but also more
translucent
questions
snake,
are being
sea
raised
snake.
every day.
One thing I love working about siphonophores is we get to ask these really
No brain,
exciting
just
questions
floating
with the
through.
latest tools, like how which cells are present and how are those cells
thing, I don't know what that
interacting and
thing
how
looks
does
like.
the genome coordinate that. And we get to do that work, which uses tools that didn't even exist 5 or 10 years ago sometimes. At the same time, when we're out there watching the animals and then collecting them and looking at them, we're doing exactly what people did 250 years ago, which is just observing biological diversity. And I love that I get to do all of those things, right? It's not that because we can sequence genomes, we don't need like microscopes or to just sit with a notebook
The Christmas
and
tree
take
lights
notes on what the
tangled
animal
up.
is doing. We actually need to do all of those things. Like it's not that new technology made old methods obsolete. It's that new technology adds additional questions that we can ask in addition to the old questions that really, might involve just sitting and watching, quietly with the animal and being surprised. And sometimes that's when you see the most amazing things because you didn't even expect it.
That is absolutely fascinating. And as Dr. Dunn said, there's still plenty left to be discovered. All we need is some underwater drones, lots of care, and a keen eye. And lots of protective gear.
This thing is crazy.
So what should we talk
Things
about
are
next?
really
Please
alien-like.
let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to learn more about amazing underwater creatures, check out our episode about oarfish, another strange ocean giant. Thanks for watching. See ya!
Man. Another reason for me to stay out the ocean. I'm not messing with no siphonophores and none of that, man. Like, what the heck? Them things is creepy. And they get longer than a freaking whale, and they all venomous. Ain't none of them not venomous. Like, what the heck? And then they adapt to whatever they eat. So the blue ones adapted to eating us. They can pierce flesh. What does that mean, to pierce? They sharp? Or is it acidic? Like, what do you mean pierce? But I'll get with y'all later, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in with me. Until next time, y'all. I'm out.